So should we upgrade to the Xt5 if we have an Xt3 already? The answer is absolutely yes. But what can be confusing for you are quite a bit of criticism that the Xt5 has been getting, all of which seem to suggest that the Xt5 is somehow disappointed some part of the market, that they expected much more from the Xt5. So let me clarify before I get into the reasons for the upgrade, why I say you absolutely should upgrade from the Xt3 to the Xt5. Let me clarify how I look at the XT series and what role the XT series actually was playing in the Fuji lineup. That is very important to understand. See, the XH1 was completely overshadowed by the XT3. Completely. The XT3 somehow stole the thunder from the XH1 and became the hero product. So Fuji felt the pressure and gave into it, and they started working on the XT4, the next gen, and tried to compete with the full frame giants with the XT4. But the XT line was supposed to be a retro camera line. It was supposed to be about technology used innovatively for the pure joy of photography. It was not supposed to be a content creator's camera, a filmmaker's camera, not a camera for sports shooters, and for everyone in general. It was not supposed to be a flagship camera meant to compete with the 1DXs or the Z9 or the D6s of the world. Somehow, because of the success of the XT3, the XT series was really taking on too many roles. But in 2022, Fuji simplified the whole thing when they launched the fast paced XH2S and the high resolution XH2 with which I'm shooting this today. And then kept the XT5, this one, separate, as a separate idea, as a separate camera, a cheaper body, yet with 40 megapixel high resolution sensor, which is very, very competitive spec wise. So the Xt5 is a disappointment for those who wanted Sony autofocus, XH2 resolution, XH2s speed, but in a tiny retro feeling stylish body for 1700 US dollars. And that will happen in time. You'll get all of that speed, that autofocus, that resolution, all of that packed in a retro feeling, retro looking XT series body in future, just not in 2022. For now, in 2022, for what it is, the XT5, this beautiful baby here, the XT5 is perfection. Why, you ask? Well, because the XT2 and the XT3 they were near perfection anyway. There was practically nothing wrong with those bodies. I mean, I love my XT3. There's nothing wrong with the XT3, except I wanted to allow in more light with slower shutter speed. So yes, I missed IBIS. I wanted more dynamic range and more megapixels to crop in. So I wanted a high resolution sensor, but I did not want the Xt4's flip out screen because I wanted a true photography camera. The Xt5 added that IBIS, kept the weight in check, kept the size in check, brought back the Xt3 screen, this implementation right here, this one right here. See the 3-way tilt screen. It brought that screen back on the Xt5. Um, because the Xt4 really went away from this design and went to flip screen design, right? So Xt5 brought that back, added the new 40 megapixel sensor, added more picture profiles, gave us 6K, added F-Lock 2, offered more customizable buttons. For example, this view mode button here, this is customizable. Can you imagine? So yeah, there are lots of customizable buttons all over the Xt5. Maintained the autofocus, manual focus, and continuous focus switch right here on the body, right? They maintain that switch. It's just simple. You don't have to go inside the menu to find out where things are. Everything is outside, tactile switches all over. Added the larger battery with much more juice. This is the difference in battery size. Let me show you. So add to that battery with a lot more juice, lot more power, made the turn on time faster. It's actually quite fast when you switch it on, especially if you're shooting, doing a bit of street photography with it. And if you're using the X-T3, let me tell you, the X-T5, let me tell you, the X-T5 switches on quite fast. So overall, the X-T5 is a much smarter camera, one that knows when you tilt out the screen, you're actually using the screen. So the EVF proximity sensor turns itself off, because when you're looking at the screen like this and you're trying to touch something, operate the screen, if this proximity sensor on the EVF is on, then it'll interrupt your operation and switch off the screen. So the moment you take the screen out like this, the EVF practically switches off. So overall, it's a much smarter camera. No-brainer to upgrade to. But for a filmmaker or a videographer or a content creator, I don't know, there are other discussions that you need to have. So the answer to the question really depends on why you're looking to upgrade from the X-T3. Have you become more of a videographer, filmmaker, content creator? Have you stopped being that much of a photographer, a street guy, street photographer? Um, I am upgrading for better film recipes, particularly better film recipes, a lot more color and film recipe options, simulations, croppability into that 40 megapixel sort of files, right? IBIS and better video autofocus, because I can do these videos on my X-T5. And if you do not need these things, just stick to the X-T3. This hasn't gotten old at all. This 2018 camera is a 2022 camera, the X-T3. You're not missing out on much if your needs have not evolved. And and if you want the X-T5 but with a larger grip and with a flip out screen, because you want to sort of get into movie making, filmmaking, content creation a bit more, but you want a true hybrid and 8K video, then go for the XH2. So that's that. And I'm going to see you very soon with another one.